Hello, this is Gerald House. When we use words, we use also combinations of letters, and all these letters have a kind of reference point that can be derived to a certain position, a certain direction, or a certain orientation. And the descriptions with letters is not really the exact signs that you say like, okay, here we have our object and here it is and that's exactly what it is. No, the descriptions also include all these uncertainties, and they define it within the frame of that in a way that we describe it, that it is describable even when it has elements that are uncertain. And that's language. That's how language works. And all these letters that I have here organized within a numerical system, within a geometrical system, are also based upon these certainties, uncertainties, and looking out for a balance in between the uncertainty and certainty principles. So we have a couple of letters that are positions, and they are from the first category. They really are going from, let's say, from a 0 point to a definition point or one within a certain basic frame of orientation and in space. When they are going away from that, because there are too many things changing, and we follow the directions, and we go to the maybe. Okay, maybe there is something more. Maybe it is growing. Maybe we can get more from it. You use the timings and the directions. The last category is a frame that includes a lot of values that are a bit too vague to say like, okay, but it is between never and always. There is a definition of behaviorisms, but where are we at this description within this frame of the two infinities, the never and the always? It's somewhere in between. The reality is somewhere in between a direct point of in space and time at each moment, which changes because the things are changing all the time. There's another sort of description where you also have letters. Every word has a combination of these kinds of orientations, which are very specific or very directed or very narrowing it down to a specific behaviorism in time and space. Hand is also one of these things, and the next word I will do will be foot, just to make a comparison. What we will use in the letters is also the ability how wide this description or the object that we name will be. Might even include not just a position, but also a kind of behaviorism or changes. In hand, it's the same thing. But first, let's resume a little bit how it was. So we had the first option of positions in space, where you had a middle point, where you have the horizontal, vertical, diagonal organization, and a voluntary point of a starting point is then the A. So there is the global orientation in which there is an application already there, where you have the first center point position, which is centralized, but is still a random point where we can name the object, and we have that relative position of a starting point. That's an example of the first category. So it is an exact point of reference, balanced out but around a space which is used as a reference. Different is the second category, which uses not space but time, because it compares one position with another position and with different circumstances. So there it will highlight out certain timed changes, timed directions, and this pointing out of differences, that it notices it in that way, is a different way of thinking. It uses always time, and that's for instance here the letter E is expressed here. Last category will might be the most difficult one for most people, but actually it's more about, yeah, we have a certain frame in which a definition works of behaviorism that we can notice there, and there it will appear. It will appear between the never and always, and we will find its reality point at that point. But it behaves itself and it moves all the time, changes all the time, but we can recognize it within a certain frame where it is available, where we can recognize the thing, where we have a recognition. The H is that thing as well. It's there in the middle of that kind of frame. So H has that general frame of our abilities of facing reality, and they say, okay, within this scope, I can see the behaviorisms that are there. So I have a full scope where I have a three-dimensional positions that can change. That can change also. I have 3 times 3 spaces in this way, because I have a fixed space, I have a moving space, and I have a big frame of and the totality is actually the behaviorisms in time, not just in a fixed point as a fixed point, but also when it is changing, and then also when it is within a full space as behaviorism in movements. And we will try to find between never and always a contemporary behavior. In other words, it's like following a bird in the sky. It's always a bird, and it has a certain behavior. When we recognize behavior, we see the kind of behavior, and we have it. And even if it's moving, we still recognize it. And at each time and each moment, is at each place, it's somewhere else, but it's always the bird. That's the kind of behaviorism that is expressed in the last category. H is that frame in which it is available and where all the movements can happen, and all the materializations, all of it will be able to be. In other words, from our position of as a person, we have the frame of where we can reach it and where we can reach it, and within the range that we can perform or express it. So that's actually a full space and time frame in which the behaviorism of H can be. Until here it is quite vague, because that's the last category seems to be quite vague, but it is a reference frame which is actually quite limiting our focus, while otherwise, if we wouldn't limit it, it would be able to go anywhere in any form and so on. But that's not the point. Now we have to have a frame in which we can define something. And so that's the H, is that framing. Here it can live, it can be have a free performance actually in that full scope. There is a free performance. Where you have that contemporary position, so let's have a contemporary position, and for the sake of things, let's have the hand where we started. The A will have a starting point. Let's have a starting point. Let's have the starting point where we have the hand, and see how it behaves and to which possibilities it is able to behave. Because from there onwards, there will be a pattern-based behavior. That's how that system works. You can go in 3 dimensions in all directions, where you can have your behavior from your center point of vision, here from A. A is then that relative position where I will have my pattern-based behavior, of course. A, normally it has that point, a starting point, and you should be able to continue within full space. Horizontally it is expressed as a continuation. In the background it says like you have a continuation, nothing of its essence changes its center point vision, so we keep its center point of vision. In this case, Also, when it behaves within three-dimensional space to all directions, it keeps its centralized vision there. That's ha. So ha, let's go from my point, from my starting point at relative position, and yeah, I have a forward continuation that I continue to use it in the same way again. The n then as a next thing is a change in in direction, a change in direction upward in a way. So I move it up to a moment of that I want to use it for something else, change it and so on, in a way that you lift it out of the space to do something with it. So you're going to do something. So that's what you move it upward to do something with it. After ha, you have that han, of course. The han, what we will do with it as well. We will use it within a time frame, because there will be a time pattern involved, and that time pattern will go to the last letter, to the letter D, and that letter D is let's move it to somewhere. Let's move it to another place. I place it in the right order, H, A, N, D. The D is there at the right place. I can use it from that position onwards to shake hands to other persons. Of course, I will take it and have that behavior up and down as you want, or I can go to any direction as a hand and push it again forward. There are a couple of possibilities of behaviorisms from hand, from the H onward, but in general it's just like I will go and keep my center and go forward with it and go and use it into a certain time frame and use it also to reach someone else in a way. That's what basically hand is able to do as a focus. Could I see more in it? Could I also visualize a form from there? Yes, just leave out all the background and see if we can do that. Of course we can do that. What's the H as well? The H is then that whole set of behaviors of freedom within a certain range that you can have within your frame so that you can control it. That's H. Still abstract, it's there with a range of free behaviors. Whatever that is, it's not defined at this point. But the next letter is the A, means that all these free behaviors, they are centralized around a point. So the behavior of freedom will be centralized there. So here you have this range, so I have a quite range to some directions. And then I will compare M to N to make you clear what is the difference between M and N. In my system, in M it is the full materialization to all the borders, so that you have the full materializations within that scope. The N, however, is taking out a selection of that. I take out a selection of that materialization, and that fits somewhat as a pattern with the fingers. As a matter of speaking, you take out only parts as material to go to somewhere else. These parts go and do something different, like as if the fingers from that center onward have its own freedom of movement as well, and where I can take direction with it as well. The D, it also fits a little bit with the thumb. It's going then to the side. So as a form, yes, you have that kind of pattern of possibilities, which is somewhat fitting to your purpose of your hand. And in general, the D is not just a physical form, but it's really like, let's move elsewhere. Let's go and move the full thing and all my possibilities of the hand, the centralized form, the separately working parts, and my intention to somewhere else. It's all there. So, and it's all there as a pattern, in the background, let's say. Let's now compare hand to foot and see what our focus is doing, and what the purpose of that we define also in the letters is different from a hand. Let's have a look, and okay, I invite you to the next video. Thanks again for watching. Bye.